Hello and welcome to this video. In this video, we will learn about modules and structure visibility inside structures. So once we covered modules, we will look at traits. I have an example prepared for that. This example and structure visibility example comes from Rust by example. So let's get started. What is a module? A module is a collection of items. Those items can be functions, structures, traits, input blocks, or even other modules. So, how do you declare a module? You prefix the module name with mod. Not really prefix, you put mod before that. So, mod is the keyword for declaring a module. The identifier rules apply to module names, that is, they can be alphanumeric, there can be Unicode characters, and underscore. So for example, here we have module my underscore mod. Now Rust has concept of private and public. There is nothing like protected like in C++. There is only public and private. So for example, you can see here we have function, private function. There is no pub keyword before this. If you put pub keyword before the function name, that becomes a public function. So private functions will have private visibility, that is only inside the module they will be accessible. But public function can be accessed outside module. Now we can have indirect access. For example, we can have a public function which calls a private function. Okay. There can be nested modules. So we have another module nested, which is of visibility public. uh, Public pub keyword precedes the declaration of this. If we don't put pub keyword, this will become a private module and won't be accessible outside my mod. Now it can have a public function, which is just named function. Then we have a private function. Okay. It cannot be called from functions outside the module, as we have discussed. Now there can be something like pub in create my mod. So in this case, uh, the parent module or accessor module can access this. So my mod can access this function from the uh, nested module. Similarly, we can have self, that means visible in the current module. It won't be accessible outside this module. So for example, this function can be called by functions of nested module, but not outside nested module. But so not but that's all right. Now super means the functions are visible within the parent module, and then inside my mod again here nested mod ends, and then outside this nested mod we have call public function in my mod. This is of type public, so it calls the public function of my mod. This function is this one. So in my mod this is visible, so we can call it from there. And then the super mod is available in the parent function, so we can call it as well. Note that these functions are prefixed with the name of the module and double colon. It is much like the scope resolution operator of C++. Then we have another function, public function in create. So this is my mod colon colon public function in create. That's how we can call it. Then we have private nested module. So this is dead code. This module is private, so from outside we can't call it. And both the functions cannot be called from outside. So this is the attribute dead code is used for these two, so that it does not give us warnings. And then we have a function outside everything, which is just a private function. Now this means that this function cannot be called outside this file, but in this file we can call it. So first call in main is a function. So as I said that this will be visible inside this file, but outside it won't be visible. The second call is of mymod colon function. So if you see this is a public function, we can call it. Okay. Then we have mymod indirect access. So this will call indirect access function of mymod, that is this function, which will in turn call the private function of the module mymod. Okay. And now we have mymod nested function. So in nested we have public function. So this can be called. Okay. Next call if we see is mymod call public function in mymod. So if you see this is a public function in mymod. We can call this by classifying with mymod, and this in turn will call public function in mymod inside nested. So this will be inside nested, and then it will also call the supermod. So those are the functions which can be called, and then we can call mymod public function in crate. So pub crate items can be called from anywhere in the same crate. Now if you see this public function in mymod is basically private, so you can't call this. We will see these one by one. So let's first run this and we see what is the output. So we run this called function, that is the first line. Let me increase the font a bit. Control plus. Okay. So this called function, so that is our function. Then we have mymod function, which is called mymod function. So this one. And then we have indirect access, that is this function. And indirect access calls private function, which is this one, mymod private function. So it print these two. Okay. And then we have mymod nested function. So it calls mymod nested function, that is this line. And then we have all public function in mymod. Okay. So this one. So it called mymod call public function in mymod, that is this line. That called mymod nested public function in mymod, that is this one. Okay. And then finally it calls public function in nested, called public function in nested. Okay. Now after this we called public function in crate. So it calls in crate. There is something wrong here. Let me check this. This is the super one which was called okay. So this called it also calls public function in supermod. So this is supermod, mymod nested public function in supermod. Okay, so that calls these two. We were up to here. So call mymod public function in mymod. Okay. So this one was called, it printed call mymod call public function in mymod, that called public function in mymod nested public function in mymod, that is this line, that calls this, that is called mymod nested public function in nested, and then the callback will return and this will be called. So called mymod nested public function in supermod. Okay, this one. And finally supermod is printed. Okay. It's called public function. Where is this line coming from? Public function in crate. Okay. So it comes from this one. All right. So that is the output of the module. So that's how this module works. So this is the concept of public and private in a module. That is the concept of public and private in this module. Now we will see that what errors we can generate from this. So if we uncomment this, it will say mostly it will be private errors. So function, this is private. So in case you want to fix this public function in my mod, okay, public function in my mod, this one, okay. So if you want to fix this, then you can simply delete this and then it will be accessible. You see, it becomes accessible here. All right. Now we have a private function here in my mod. Okay. So this will say again that this is private. So if you want to fix this, if you want to make it accessible, you can make it public and the error will be gone. Now private function in nested is private. So like other functions, we can make this public. So if we mark this public, it will be available. Similarly, in nested, we have the function called function, which is private. So again, we had made that public, private nested. Okay, private nested. So we look for private nested. Okay, this one. So for making this public, we have to make the entire module public. Okay, otherwise it won't work. And finally, restricted function in private nested, we have to uncomment this. And if you see, restricted function is already public in crate, so it will be available to the main function as well. And if you run this now, all the calls will be possible. So that's how we can do this. So this allows us to give access to functions in a granular way, and we can choose to not give access to certain functions. This is also applicable to structure elements. As you can see here, we will talk about the structure content visibility. We have a module. Note that pub is not pub does not precede this. So this module is visible only in this file. This is the outermost module. It has a structure named openbox, which takes a generic argument of type T, and it has a public contents of type T. There is another structure closed box T, which takes an argument of type T and not takes argument. I'm saying it wrong. This is open box of type T and it contents is of type T. Here contents is of type T, but the difference is contents is not public here. But we have a constructor for closed box which takes an argument of type T for contents and returns a closed box object by setting the contents. Now, if you look at main function, open box can be created and contents can be set to public information. So here T will become string and we can print the contents. But if you try to do the same thing to closed box, you can't set contents just like that because it will be an error. Now we have the constructor is public, so we can invoke this new call on the for closed box and we can create the closed box of the object of the closed box. Now if you see, there is an error on this line. Okay, let closed box, we can't do this, and similarly we can't get the contents of the closed box. So what you can do is instead you can say pub fn get contents and say it returns of type T. It has to return of type T. Okay, and you can say that you return contents. Return contents. Okay, we have to, all right, closed box T, we have to return contents. Forget the syntax of this. So I have to return contents of type T, get contents, and it has to return of type T. So this has to be, I don't think we can return the private part. No, we can't. So what we can do is to make these two work, this one and this line, if you want to make it work, You can simply mark the contents public, and then these two lines will work. So before we make this work, and we should look at the runtime of this. So it gives us warning, allowed dead code by default. Contents T. Okay, we can't create the object. That's why it is saying the object is dead code. We have not used it directly. So now we will add public and uncomment this so that warning will be gone. Okay. So we have to make this underscore float. We can mark this underscores and okay, double underscore will work. Okay, so now we can access the contents of this. Let's run this again to get no warnings. Okay, so now by marking the contents public, we can return it. All right. So you see how this can work. I will investigate whether we can return the private contents of a structure or not. Should be possible by looking at the logic. I don't recall encountering returning of private elements anywhere. So this is something which never came to me. But in any case, so this is how the structure visibility is there. So in structure, what you can do is you can have public members of a structure or private members of structure, and depending on the requirement, you can control the visibility of the members of the structure. So this is all about visibility inside structure, and we have covered the modules. So we'll further explore the pub and private parts in the next video. And after that, we will move on to crates. So I hope that you have found this video useful and informative. If you have comments about how to improve videos further, or you want videos on certain topics, then please let me know in the comments. Thanks a lot for watching. Happy programming.